It's Monday night, and you know what that means. Jersey First TV proudly brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk, and I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit online magazine for 2020, 2021, and certainly in 2022, and the sworn enemy of all the local toxic progressives, social justice clowns, woke fools, and climate hysterics here in Hudson County and throughout the Garden State. Yes, it's me, ladies and gentlemen, Fernando Uribe. Hoping you all had a wonderful weekend. I sure did. And certainly we appreciate you tuning in here from wherever and however you may be doing so on Facebook Live, via StreamYard, and also on the Jersey First YouTube page. Make sure you check out Jersey First on their website, www.jerseyfirst.org. That's Jersey1st.org. Make sure you like Jersey First on Facebook and follow them on both Instagram and Twitter. Check out my own Instagram and Twitter, same handle, @NoFilterUribe. Also, make sure you like Real Talk with Fernando Uribe on Facebook. And, of course, follow me on Facebook as well. I'm the handsome guy with the Joe Biden sucks t-shirt. You can't miss me, ladies and gentlemen, of course, and a great following. And a lot of praise I get for wearing these shirts on the weekends wherever I do frequent in the New York, New Jersey, tri-state area. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you tune in until the very end here tonight, because I will have the winner of this week's worst journalist in the Garden State. There's always a lot of people to choose from, but it seems to be that Insider NJ always gives me a lot of material. So you definitely want to tune in for that, as I have a lot to say about the kings of bad journalism here in New Jersey, Insider NJ, and some of the clowns working there. But first, ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you, obviously, the exclusives that nobody else brings you in Garden State media. And the reason that this show continues to do well, ladies and gentlemen, organically as it pertains to traffic, again, no paid ads, nothing boosted, okay, is because of, number one, you, my loyal viewing audience, very intelligent audience, and, of course, the very interesting guests that I bring you that no other news outlet or no other news site bring you every single week in Garden State media. And this week is no exception. He's a guy that has made the call, HudPost, very famous on your social media feeds, whether it's irresponsible drivers, car crashes, breaking news, solid editorials and columns, and just outstanding coverage. Folks, he is the publisher of HudPost and a dedicated member of Cowboys Nation like yours truly, folks. He's my good friend and yours, the great James de los Santos, joining us here tonight on Real Talk. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's going on, Fernando? Great to be on the show.
Appreciate it. I know you're always a behind-the-scene guy, but it's good to have you in front of the camera here tonight for our audience. And folks, make sure you check out HudPost.com. Outstanding journalism, not just in Hudson County, it's really growing statewide in terms of its traffic. Make sure you follow them on Instagram and Twitter, same handle, @HudPost. Whether it's car crashes, you're reporting them, traffic jams, again, whatever it is, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just the TMZ of Hudson County, as some in government would like to reference it as. I don't. I call it a legitimate news site. I've stood up for HudPost, and I'll continue doing that every single week. So, James, really, how's your summer been so far, brother?
Summer's been great. I can't complain. As you know, I've gotten engaged earlier on this year. Have a new puppy now, so the family's growing, and things, and the brand's growing. So, life is great right now.
All right. Well, brother, good luck again as you'll be taking that plunge, as they say, getting that ankle bracelet nice and fitted, hopefully next year. But again, in all seriousness, congratulations to you and your lovely fiance. I've had the pleasure of meeting her. Great people as well. So certainly appreciate, you taking a few minutes tonight. I appreciate her, signing that permission slip, getting you on the air tonight. So I appreciate
of course. Yeah. She let me off the leash for about, 20 minutes.
All right, cool. So let's get to it here. James, obviously the biggest story in Hudson County media. Obviously it's even growing statewide and even throughout the tri-state area. I'm going to try to give our audience as concise a timeline here as I possibly can. I'm going to articulate the way I want to, and then we can sort of dissect where I'm right, where I'm wrong, or maybe somewhere in the middle. But on the morning of July the 19th, in the Greenville section of Jersey City, a bicyclist took a red light. Subsequently, a crash with a motor vehicle ensued. We've all seen the CCTV footage concerning that motor vehicle accident. It was revealed that Councilwoman at Large, Amy DeGees, the former chairperson of the Hudson County Democratic Organization, was at the wheel. And we all know, obviously, she'll be facing her day in court, I believe in front of a Superior Court judge. Not in Hudson County. I can't really say where the county is because it hasn't been announced yet, but I believe she'll be facing a plethora of traffic summonses before a Superior Court judge. Okay. And obviously, in the time since the incident, people have really not been shy in piling on her on social media. I have been one of those people that has chosen not to pile on her. She's a friend of mine. I think we're human beings. I think we tend not to pile on our friends in some of their bad moments. I'm not going to do that. It's funny how some people want to take me to task on that. More on that later. But honestly, it just seems that some people are piling on. We saw a great column recently published, I believe it was on HudPost, if I'm not mistaken, where former councilman and fellow member of Cowboys Nation, good guy, Chris Gatson, really outlined what this means. Obviously, September 1st is a very important date as it pertains to sort of these developments where, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if Councilman DeGise would step down and resign before September 1st, that would sort of trigger a special election within, I think, a pretty close time frame, I think within the next 90 days. But if she chooses to resign after September 1st, I think that might activate it where it would be decided in November of 2023. Obviously, some people believe that Chris is doing this for political gain, right? We've seen people on the council like James Solomon, Frank Gilmore. Again, Frank Gilmore, nice guy, gentleman to be on my show. James Solomon, too, to some extent, doesn't want to talk to me anymore, but that's fine. I don't lose sleep about it. But it seems that, Chris's editorial is being viewed as, hey, maybe Chris is doing this for political gain. Maybe he'd like to get back on the council. He'll certainly have some support. And then also, of course, we have people that are so in love with the sound of their own voice. They have no problem going in front of a camera to voice their displeasure about what Councilwoman DeGise did, opining about it. That's fine. They're all within their realm to do that and talk to, kind of mediocre journalists like David Cruz, Uncle Dave from NJTV. But, that's where we sit today. A lot to unpackage there. What am I missing?
No, I think you got it pretty spot on. When we talk about Chris, I don't really know his motive, but I find his editorial super insightful. And
it was. Let me be clear. I'll let you finish. Let me be clear. I like Chris. He's a friend of mine. I'm not sure if he'll feel the same way after this, but I'm not throwing shade at Chris. I'm just articulating that I have good sources on the ground as you do. The word's on the street. The optic is there. Him publishing that makes it seem a little self-serving because maybe he'd like to make sure that Amy DeGise steps down and maybe he can get in there during a special election. Those are not my words, folks. It's all over social media. The allegations there. So let me be very clear about how I'm referencing Chris Gatson here, James. I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah, no worries. I was just saying that it was super insightful, and it's something that I believed had to be published because it actually put the conversation out there and had people talk about the topic and really debate. Is Amy stepping down the right thing to do for Jersey City? Is the right thing to do just in general? And I'm really happy that Chris was able to send that over. And I think I'm the only one to publish that editorial. So as usual, HudPost seems to be the exclusive of a lot of anti-mainstream type of thought in Hudson County.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's maybe anti-mainstream. I just think that people want to read, again, listen, that column was very insightful. Chris took the time to really outline exactly why September 1st is important, right? We have the next council meeting, I believe, in Jersey City, I believe is next Wednesday. So certainly I think that's going to be WWE-like atmosphere in terms of the chaos. I fully expect a big turnout, probably one of the bigger you would expect that in August during a council meeting, right? You would say, oh, well, maybe it's going to be low attendance. I seriously doubt that. I think people are going to be energized to go. But what I would argue is that, what makes Chris's op-ed interesting is the optic again. It seems, again, I don't have it on any authority or information. Again, folks, it's not, I don't have anything I'm not disclosing, but it's my understanding, though, James, that Amy will not resign. And despite the amount of, it seems like the tsunami of things being published, right? We're seeing Hudson County View publishing an incident she had during a motor vehicle towing. Now other stuff is surfacing. It seems like Amy is surviving so far this tsunami of bad PR. And I know Amy personally. We've talked off the air. I'm not going to divulge our conversations. But she's a friend of mine. I feel for my prayers go out to her. My prayers go out to her father. He's elderly. I mean, this is not something that's really good, I think, for his health to be facing this sort of stress. But like everything else, James, Let the process play out. I've been consistent about that. People like David Cruz on Twitter maybe want to pile on. Other activists, whatever, want to do the same. That's all within their providence. I'm choosing not to do that because at the end of the day, I don't think it's right. I know if roles were reversed, Amy wouldn't do that to me because I know her personally. We're friends. It's not just, listen, I'm not Stephen A. Smith that's like, oh, this person's a friend of mine and just met him 10 minutes ago. No, I've known Amy for years.
Yeah, you've had her on your show.
Yeah, monthly on my Hudson County podcast. I know her father personally. So I'm going to, again, keep our conversations, confidential. But by the same token, I know that she wants to address this. She's not running from it, clearly. She's going to have her day in court. And let's see what happens. But what's interesting, though, again, and, you've been reporting on this, obviously, at the end of July, there was a protest that took place right in the Newark Avenue pedestrian plaza. Really, really nice makeover there in downtown. For folks that haven't gone there, whether it's Barcade or the Ashford or South House, visit them. They're great venues. And local activists took to the streets. Again, HudPost was right on the scene. Some people were being cute, I guess, with some signs. People wanted to relay their concerns. We had multiple media outlets, which included Pix 11, Univision, NBC New York, The Daily Wire, and others. Even celebrities were opining on it. I know, which you were able to highlight. Again, it involves Andrew Black, the victim of the hit and run incident. Obviously, he spoke. A lot of people seem to, again, continue to be voicing their opinions, and people aren't shy about it. What'd you take from that protest at Pedestrian Plaza in Newark Avenue?
Well, what I took from that protest is that, the people want to have people that we hold up to a higher standard, which is politicians, police officers, people that we deem to be, at a higher level in society, and that we hold them to a higher standard. So someone like that doing a hit and run is just the opposite of what they should be doing. So I think that people going to the streets was just a justified thing to be doing. And I think the crowd was, a good size for a Saturday and a hot Saturday. I didn't show up. I definitely have my reporters now that HudPost is growing. I don't have to be on the streets every day like I used to.
That's great.
But it was pretty good size for the weather, for it being a Saturday. Honestly, I felt like a protest should have happened immediately. It probably would have had more of a reaction. But then again, I'm just reporting the news. I'm not actually trying to make things happen.
It's great to delegate, that's for sure. Folks, it's 6:13 here on the East Coast. If you're just joining us live here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV, my guest this week is the distinguished publisher of HudPost. He's the great James de Santos joining us here on Real Talk. James, staying on that note, obviously, a editorial published last week by Michael Shuren, a guy who's a little bit of an enigma in Hudson County media, where he doesn't really like to come on shows. I've been asking him in the past. I gave up because it was like sort of, trying to pull teeth with Michael. But I'll give Michael his due. He's a great writer. He's been a very feisty and fickle investigative reporter. And he's a guy that's really dug deep into a lot of what's going on in Hudson County politics. And his editorial last week was very interesting. He titled it, I Really Don't Care. I'm sorry?
I said, let's not forget, he's the one that broke the Amy the G story. So I have to give him credit for that.
Yes, he did. And again, so the title of the article is, I Really Don't Care, Do You? No, absolutely. And, again, folks, if you haven't checked it out, it is on HudPost.com. And we know that Michael obviously has a certain perspective when it comes to the county establishment, when it comes to the Hudson County Democratic Organization. We know a guy, he's a guy who leans pretty left, identifies as a progressive. But, let's put his political ideology to the side. He's been a journalist that has really uncovered a lot of different things in Hudson County news and politics, whether it's been, irresponsible behavior by Jersey police officers and other newsworthy, columns. And again, Michael has had his life turned upside down. Again, if you know anything about Michael Shuren, I'm not throwing shade at Michael, but these are the facts. He's had his life turned upside down by a lot of the establishment in Hudson County. I know that he has continued to sort of move forward and keep chugging along when it comes to media. But what really stood out for me, and I'm sort of, I'm looking at the column here, is, looking at one line that, again, I looked at my notes here, again, and he alluded to, furthermore, quote, while former Ward B councilperson Chris Gatz has never been shy to, talk about these cases, he wrote, I think he's wrong to say Mayor Stephen Phillips' political aspirations may be challenged if he doesn't take leadership and ask his political friend to resign. Again, we know that Chris and the mayor have not had a good relationship. We know that when Chris ran in 2017, as an incumbent, he ran on an opposing ticket. Obviously, that has not worked out. I think a lot of people, as I just alluded to, a lot of people would like to see Chris get back into council politics. What was interesting about, the way that Michael phrased this was the fact that there seems to be a lot of heat also on Mayor Stephen Phillips, because as we all know, his name is being thrown out there. He has gubernatorial aspirations, which I don't think are going to go anywhere. And we'll get to that in a minute also. We know that the new chair of the HCDO, Anthony Veneri, has been very adamant about saying, hey, we need a governor that is from Hudson County. Okay, I was at the recent HCDO event at Liberty House. I appreciate the free invite. And we know that Veneri, very much like when he took office, when at the reorg meeting, has been very adamant about Stephen Fulop running for governor in the primary in 2025. I personally don't think he has a chance in hell to win when Newark Mayor Ross Baraka is still breathing. And U.S. Representative Mikey Sherrill, who I hope is out of a job in November, but in case she gets reelected, is another prominent name for Democrats. I don't see Stephen Fulop being one for a lot of different reasons we've talked about on our shows, respectively. Steve's also under some fire as well, where he's under the microscope for not asking Amy to resign, like many on the council as well. Do you see that as a problem for the mayor?
I see that might be a problem running for governor. I don't see it being a problem him staying as mayor. I think what Michael is getting at with that article is that no matter how much noise we make, and as far as media, as far as activism, that the political stronghold that the HCDO has on government and local government is strong. They don't need to listen to us as people protest or as articles come out about that Amy should resign. And I think it's because the people of Hudson County are not super involved as far as politics. We have low turnout rate, probably the lowest in the state. So I think that's what Michael's really getting at, is that he doesn't care about all this hoopla, because no matter if Amy does resign and gets replaced with somebody else, it's just going to be someone in the HCDO, and it's not going to be anything different than it has been in the past. I think that's what the heart and the spirit of that article is.
Well, the idea that, machine politics hasn't permeated. I mean, it's pervasive in every county, all the way down to Cape May County, to Bergen, to Essex. So this is nothing new in terms of the optic that people have about county organizations. But what's interesting, though, as Michael alluded to, is the fact that, hey, he wouldn't be, he'd be a little surprised if progressives coming up on the 17th don't try to filibuster that meeting. I mean, at the end of the day, Jersey police, listen, if they're ever going to earn their check or earn their overtime, I would argue it's going to be that Wednesday, because I am certain that progressives, activists, whether it's JC Bike or, cyclist organizations, right, will be there to not just stand up for Mr. Black, but to sort of, again, attempt to hold Amy accountable. As I've said before, let's let the process play itself out. I'm not going to make any judgments. I'm a human being. I'm not going to pile on people. Okay. And it's funny though, James, because one of the things, and this is how either you're making it or you're in the process of making it, when you're seeing people create fake Twitter profiles of mine to opine on this issue. I just think it's been hysterical. I mean, some of the variations of my name, I'm not going to repeat them on the air to give these idiots any credence, but we talked off the air. It's interesting where, hey, I'm choosing not to opine on this story because obviously my friendship with her is sort of front and center. I've had my Instagram blowing up, my Twitter, my Facebook, and I've just been like, listen, stay in your lane. We're not connected on here. You want to do what you want to do it on your own page. Don't do it on mine. I don't come on your page and talk smack or whatever. I just think, James, social media has really created this climate that it's made people very courageous behind a keyboard on their computer at home or on their smartphones. And I think an issue like this really puts it front and center, where people just feel emboldened to opine at all times. And it's gotten downright vicious, man.
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely see the viciousness in the comment section. And I know you're no stranger to the controversy and drama in the comment section of HudPost. So,
Well, and this is the thing, though, too. And what really sort of caught me off guard was the idea that, and it's funny because I know Michael references Paul Mulshine. Coincidentally, Paul Mulshine was my guest last Monday night, and we talked a little bit, and he kind of took you to task, not you by name, but he took HudPost to task about, and again, I haven't looked at the site, so you can clarify for our audience today. Paul Mulshine made it seem last week that, hey, HudPost, this local news organization, was sort of one of the first ones to get out there and interview Andrew Black, when he willingly lied during the interview when saying that, no, he didn't take a red light, that it was green, when we know it wasn't green, it was red. He knowingly took that. Maybe it's splitting hairs by Paul. Paul's a friend of mine. He's one of the few conservative columnists that exist in New Jersey. So, I try to maximize that report whenever I can with anybody. But it seemed like Paul was adamantly saying, hey, HudPost, great, good for you, talking to Andrew Black, but it wasn't an accurate story. And he said it very blatantly, HudPost should take that interview down because it's not accurate. A, has it been taken down? And B, has there been any clarification added to that column?
No, we haven't taken it down. I believe that in an interview, we're reporting the news. We're not facilitating what's going on. So the story that he brought forth is the story that he brought forth. We're not here to create a narrative or to make a story out of nothing. This is what he said. The footage that we had was a different angle that didn't show the red light, so we couldn't confirm or deny it. And we didn't. In the article, we said what we could confirm is that we saw an accident happen at an intersection. And then his word was his word. And soon after that article came out, it so happened that the traffic video was leaked to NJ Globe. So I think that's a coincidence. But, when you're doing great news and you're trying to, break news, how long do people have to contact Andrew Black, whether it was Amy the Jesus team, whether it was Paul Skabinski and his team, whether it was all the journalists or media companies that try to say that they're better than HudPost because they try to say we're a meme page. But, a meme page broke the news better than everyone. So, for people like Dave Cruz Dave Cruz wanted to throw shots at me while they were out in the streets doing interviews with, Mayor Fulop. Doing interviews with politicians are easy. You give them a call, they want to be on air. But doing the hard news and doing the hard research and finding who this actual person was, I think that's great news. So, kudos to Sharon and all the rest of the people on my team. Jeff Arana, who wrote about Jeff and Alexander, a whole bunch of people on my team were just doing excellent work. So that's what I got to say. Thank you to them. So.
No, absolutely. And by the way, just since you referenced David Cruz, I like to ridicule Uncle Dave whenever I can. I mean, this is a guy who openly wears a shirt that says Greenville. Bro, what are you doing? There's nothing to glorify about that part of Jersey City. So why David Cruz? I don't know. Maybe it's his old age, and Uncle Dave is maybe entering early stages of dementia. Bro, and I'm glad he changed that profile picture on Twitter. Like, have a little self-awareness. Why would anyone walk around with a Greenville shirt? It's mind-boggling to me, but that's not the point.
To be honest, I didn't know who this man was until he tweeted at me and he had a verified check mark. I go on my Cablevision, which I don't use cable. I got YouTube and all Hulu, so I turn on channel 12 or 13. I saw he was there, so I was like, all right, I understand why he's upset. He's in old media, and I'm a new kid on the block, just taking all their lunch money.
Well, Uncle Dave is just salty or fickle. I mean, right now, he has like this perpetual erection because his New York Mets are relevant somehow for the first time in, I don't know, our adult lives. So, I'll leave Dave to his hard-on about the Mets and whatever. But the hard-on for you, I was just like, really? That's unnecessary. It just seems like the old dog getting a little salty about new dogs in the yard. I don't know. That was just my opinion, James.
Yeah, I think it was a meme I had put out of, I think it was Mr. Bean copying on the person next to him. And I just put, just make fun of all the news medias that didn't get to this Amy the Geese article. Just poking fun. And a lot of journalists took it serious, which I find interesting. But I respect all the different news medias out there. John Highness, Hudson Reporter, which I grew up reading. I think me and you talked about this when it had more than 2 pages. Jersey Journal, all of them.
No, absolutely. Listen, I think everyone does a great job locally in terms of published news. I don't break news. I don't publish news. I just opine on it. So it's a different form of journalism. But you're right, though. Your team has been doing consistently a great job of breaking news. again, daily, even weekly, even hourly at times when it comes to that. Another dynamic about this story, though, James, and one that I talked about with Paul last week from the Star Ledger, and it's one that I am openly, I talk about it whenever I can opine and boil piss on the HudPost Instagram page. I'll do it because I love boiling piss. I'm Cuban. Me encanta joder. That's in our DNA. You know what I'm saying? So, but Paul brought up a good point, published a good article about, hey, it seems like bicyclists and now scooter riders feel that they can just sort of ride around with immunity. And I'm one of those people, though, James. And again, I'm not taking a shot at Andrew Black, but Paul brought up a really good point about the fact that, yes, we're seeing more bike lanes up here where we live in North Hudson. We're seeing it in Union City on Palisade Avenue up by me, well into downtown Union City. We see it in Jersey City in different areas. Again, I get it. The cost of gas is still expensive, right? We're still waiting for it to go down. People are finding alternate means of transportation. People like to ride bicycles. But my issue, though, really is that bicyclists, I think, in Hudson County and in a lot of municipalities, which is why ordinances are passed, right? My mayor and state senator, Brian Stack, had to post signs all over the city because parents are too much idiots to raise their children better and, enable them to ride bicycles on sidewalks or on the street when it's dangerous without a helmet or whatever else. And now we're seeing scooters, these electric scooters now everywhere on Bergen Line, on Boulevard East, even on Tunnelly Avenue, which I think is suicide based on traffic patterns. But this is the thing. Paul's not wrong by wanting to hold bicyclists more accountable when it seems like they think they own the road. Newsflash, ladies and gentlemen, you don't, because it's the slightest little thing that can happen when you're driving in such a deeply congested area that could spell disaster for bicyclists. I don't think Paul Mulshine's wrong to try to keep them accountable. I'm the same way, James. How do you feel?
I don't exactly, I didn't read what Paul wrote, but I think if you're on the road, you should follow the traffic laws. I think just in Hudson County, I think you see through the HudPost Instagram page that traffic around here is crazy. I've been to different cities where you can ride a bike in the street. I've been to Washington, D.C., where, you have traffic lights and cameras everywhere you go. So everyone's driving the speed limit. We just do not have the infrastructure to kind of support bike lanes. I couldn't imagine bike lanes on Kennedy Boulevard. You barely get cars down the road, never mind a bicycle or a scooter.
Well, I know because it's a county road, I think probably a bike lane would not, obviously it's not feasible physically. Mm-hmm. But I think also too, I think it would be a lot more hoops to jump through because it is a county road. Obviously municipalities and everything. But what really bothers me again, and we're seeing a rise in electric scooters, right? These are riders that don't have to register these vehicles. A lot of them aren't wearing helmets. And James, God forbid, we're on Boulevard East or Bergen Line, and we're trying to get home from work. I'm trying to get home from campus, wherever. I'm going to the studio, back, whatever. And again, these bicyclists and scooter riders collectively think they own the road. And let me be very clear. I'm not condoning running over bicyclists. I'm not condoning running over scooter riders, but it just seems like they're asking for trouble consistently on roads that are so congested like ours. I'm not saying that they don't have a right to be on the road, but again, when you're not required to register your vehicle, when you're not wearing helmets, if God forbid you hit a scooter rider or a bicyclist, never mind to your premium, it creates just trouble on the road, traffic, dysfunction. It just, to me, again, I think bicyclists and scooter riders need to kind of take their head out of their asses because it seems like they want immunity on the road. I'm sorry, you don't deserve that. Just like there's accountability for us motorists, James, right? We have to register our vehicles. We have to pay premiums every year. I think if bicyclists and scooter riders want their piece of the road, you need to kind of, pay their fair share, which is kind of funny coming from me. But your thoughts, James?
As far as the bicyclists, I think the people you're describing, and I don't know if the people that you're describing, I feel like are more people in Hoboken, that area. I think people North Hudson, a lot of bike riders are Uber delivery drivers and Uber Eats or DoorDash, people who can't afford a car. So I have some sympathy for bicyclists on the road. But at the same time, if you're on the road, you have to follow the traffic laws. But just as much as cars do, because I think we saw in that Amy the Geese video in that 20-second clip, I think someone put on Twitter about 7 laws that got broken in that short 30-second clips. Someone was parked on the yellow. Someone went through a red light. Someone was, there was just so much things going on. I think you have to be careful if you're on Hudson County roads. It's dangerous, and it's something that I don't see anyone addressing. It's never on the forefront of any campaign. I've never seen someone say, hey, what I'm going to do is make sure that we have less car accidents, or, less potholes, make it safe, because even potholes make it dangerous for you to drive. You have to swerve and get out the way or break your tires. So.
Absolutely. Folks, at 6:30 here on the East Coast, on Jersey First TV via YouTube, and also on Facebook Live via StreamYard. Our guest this week on Real Talk is the distinguished publisher of HudPost, again at HudPost.com, the great James Santos here on Jersey First TV. James, real quick here, you have been under the microscope for some time by the political establishment, especially in North Hudson. You've been openly critical, and we'll get to a story you published a few days ago on HudPost concerning the municipality of North Bergen as it pertains to its high school. But you've really been at the forefront of a lot of scorn from residents, local officials, specifically in the town of North Bergen. And I'll give some people a little back history here about why James and I think have a great rapport. Again, besides being diehard Cowboys fans, as you can see behind me, obviously I'm not shy about showing that on the show. But more so, too, it's the fact that I know what it's like to come up with media and be sort of slowly but surely trying to get it established. And I know, and I'm not going to speak for James on this, but what I will say is that James has been trying for many years now to be a reputable and established news entity in Hudson County. Whether we want to talk about traffic and clicks and views, that's irrelevant. It's about putting out stories that matter to regular people. And not like the funny posts where people, like the car flip challenge, where we're reminded about the atrocious drivers in Hudson County, some people that have no business having a license to operate a motor vehicle, but more so about holding people accountable locally. I'm going to mention a story here on the air because I talked about it last year. I felt the need to come to your defense, and I've done it multiple times, right? Not because I want to, cash in a favor or anything. No, it's the right thing to do. And I know that you have published stories that have not always sat well with people. You've reported, unfortunately, untimely deaths of individuals, some that have worked in government, some that have not. And you're publishing news, okay? It's not always about everything being hunky-dory, about everything being peachy and rainbows and everything else. Sometimes you have to report unfortunate tragedies and incidents that, quite frankly, are going to make us uncomfortable. And when I hear residents taking you to task and your staff to task, I just think it's like, well, it's easy for you to do that from the comfort of your own home, scratching your ass when you're not doing what James is trying to do, publish a reputable news site. So when I have felt the need to come to your defense, and I've gotten scorned for it, I'm like, listen, I don't gain anything. I'm not on his payroll. It's not like James is sharing my stuff or anything, which is fine. Again, that's not the reason for it. It's the right thing to do. And I think that gets lost a lot in what you're trying to do when it comes to publishing news. It can't always be peaches and rainbows, folks. Sometimes hard news is difficult. And I think you've seen that firsthand, right, James?
Yeah, definitely. I think I can't figure out who quoted this, but I heard news is always going to offend someone. So if you're not offending someone, you're not doing news. So I think a lot of the blowback I get, I found something in common, and it was a public paycheck. If you're getting paid by the administration, whether it was through parking authority, teacher, police officer, they all seem to have the same type of reaction to certain stories, especially when it comes to stories that may not reflect well on North Bergen, such as the school district being told that they continue to break the law, that they continue to mismanage public funds and risk favoritism. And this is from the New Jersey Comptroller. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick, I'll let you finish though. But again, ladies and gentlemen, the article that he's referencing, again, great piece on HudPost.com a few days ago. Opening paragraph real quick for our audience. In the 2019 audit, the Office of the State Comptroller found faults in the school district's fiscal and managerial procedures, specifically in the payment of employee benefits, along with neglecting to follow public contract laws and the inadequate administration of obtainments and payments for legal public relations services. Following the survey, the OSC made 15 recommendations to the school district. North Bergen submitted a correction action plan to the OSC to address those infractions. In the 2022 follow-up report, the North Bergen School District only fully implemented, I believe, X amount of recommendations, and then partially implementing 6 and failed entirely implementing another outstanding 7. Again, James, this is public information. So when someone in the administration or in the school board is taking exception with you, I mean, again, it's not like you're reinventing the wheel here. It's not like you just discovered fire. But you're publishing what is public information. Now, I'm not someone that relies on Oprah's. I don't need to. That's not what I'm looking to do. But whether it's you or other journalists that use Oprah, I mean, again, sometimes it's a mechanism for chaos and for dysfunction, whatever. In this case, parents and their property taxes for homeowners pay the school district. They want to know what's going on in their school district is functional, is competent. Maybe I'm a little biased here because I live in Union City, but the Union City School District, I would argue, is the best in the county. It's immaculately run, great people in leadership, but not everybody's Union City. So again, maybe I'm being a little harsh, but it seems like what this report you just put out, it looks really damning. I could say something else, but it's probably not PG. This is really, really incriminating here.
It definitely does, especially since we just ran a story about no ACs in the school. And a lot of the response from teachers, people who actually work for the school, was that, if kids weren't failing, that they wouldn't be in summer school. And I felt it was a weird response from teachers at the school. I would think that they would be someone who say, yeah, we do need ACs in the school. And that's what I'm really trying to do when I put out stories like that, is that we all need to collectively agree, hey, having air conditioning inside of a school for kids is something necessary. It's not something that we should be fighting on. And the fact that something like that is controversial definitely shows me that, like, how polarizing just like shining a light on what's wrong in the area. Like, that's how polarizing it is. We can't agree on just common decency for children.
No, it certainly is polarizing. And again, it sort of lends itself to, and we'll sort of move on to this story here in a minute, but it's been common knowledge since the beginning of the year. I know we talked about it when I was on your podcast earlier this year, but we know that after the census and the data was compiled, the Redistricting Committee in Trenton decided to really change up a lot of the legislative districts in New Jersey. Why is that significant, folks? Well, because here in Hudson County, arguably the 3 legislative districts that pertain to the state legislature have really changed dramatically. Case in point, the 31st legislative district, which is south of us, covers the entire city of Bayonne, the south side of Jersey City, and that was what it was before. Now it's going to include the city of Kearney. And coincidentally, towns like Harrison and East Newark, which were formerly in the 32nd legislative district, are now being moved to a district that pretty much encompasses nearby Essex County. The 32nd legislative district, as presently constituted, is going to change completely. Well, now it will encompass the city of Hoboken and the entire north side of Jersey City, which includes the Heights and downtown. The 33rd legislative district is having arguably probably the biggest facelift, with certainly townships like Union City and Weehawken still staying in there. But now towns like West New York, North Bergen, Secaucus, and Guttenberg are now being moved into the 33rd. Subsequently, because of the redistricting, state senators Nicholas Sacco and Brian Stack were headed on a collision course, apparently, going into next year's primary because of what happened with redistricting. That did not come to pass. We know that there was sort of this closed-door meeting at Waterside between Mayor Stack and Sacco, respectively, Weehawken Mayor Richard Turner, West New York Mayor Gabriel Rodriguez, and Hudson County Commissioner Chairman Anthony Veneri. They came to an agreement. I think, again, this is not throwing shade, so hopefully Phil and Paul Zabinski don't, blow a gasket when I say this, but I think Nick Sacco knew, I'm not going to challenge Brian Stack in a primary. I'm going to get my ass handed to me. Brian arguably, if not probably, has the best door-to-door mobilization apparatus in the state. Never mind Hudson County, in the state. So Nick probably said, you know what? I've had a good run in the state Senate. I'm not going to challenge Brian, because he knew, let's be fair, Sacco would get his ass kicked. I don't care how that sounds. That's the fact. Okay, the numbers were not going to be on his side. They met. They said, okay, I'll quietly step aside. I'll endorse you, Brian, for state Senate, which was a smart move for Nick Sacco. But of course, like everything else, there were some concessions that had to be made. One of them was having a new chairman for the Democratic Party in Hudson County. Subsequently, Amy DeGees was moved aside. Anthony Veneri was put in there. Sacco wanted his choice for one of the assembly seats now in the new 33rd going into 2023. Apparently, I believe it's going to be Mr. Maranko. Again, I could be wrong. And the other assembly seat was going to be decided upon between Weehawken and West New York. I think State Senator Stack made it obvious and known at his recent event at Waterside that would be West New York Mayor Gabriel Rodriguez moving into that slot, subsequently allowing for retired U.S. Representative Albio Sires to now run for mayor of West New York. Man, it seems like a lot of musical chairs here. But that's
a lot of musical chairs and not a lot of elections or people.
Well, okay,
so
and again,
what's interesting about this?
A lot of people took exception with that. It seemed like, well, the power brokers got together, they agreed, okay, I get this, you get that, which happens in every county, folks. Let's not get it twisted. Happens in every county. I can tell you stories about Bergen County, both Republican organizations and Democratic organizations, all the way down to Atlantic County. It seemed like this was the best fit for the machine moving forward. A lot of people didn't like Amy being kicked to the side. Again, I like Anthony Veneri. I don't want him to come after me. I like Anthony. Some people, it didn't sit well with Anthony becoming chair. That's apparently what Sacco and Stack were able to agree upon. It seems like there's harmony moving forward in the HCDO. But I think this left a lot of people with a bad taste in their mouth, James. Is that fair to say?
I think so. I think Sacco owes a lot of people positions that they've been working their life for, and Veneri is one of them. I think Veneri, you've seen it on HudPost that he has aspirations of being the mayor. You know, Julio has aspirations, so I think he had to do what he had to do and broker those deals to make sure that people around him are happy. But what I do notice is that a lot of women were pushed out in the brokering of all this. Amy DeGees, Angelica Jimenez, it's something to be noted that, men, they're pulling out a lot of women, the few women that we do have in Hudson County politics, pushing them to the side to appease to other men, which is, super interesting to look at.
Well, it's interesting. Again, Assemblywoman Jimenez has not yet declared whether or not she's going to run off the line. I know you take issue with those words. We'll get that in a minute as well. It seems like she has not made a decision formally. I like Angelica. She's been a regular on my Hudson County podcast, which, by the way, folks, you can check out at blogtalkradio.com/talkinthehudson. We'll see what happens. It's many months until the primary, until June of 2023. But we know that, again, nearby West New York, for example, next year's mayoral election looks to be probably the juiciest that we're going to be seeing since probably 2011, when then outsider Felix Roque ousted the incumbent Sal Vega. We know that U.S. Representative Albio Sires, who is, again, announced his retirement, he would not seek re-election in the House seat here in Hudson County in the 8th Congressional District. We know that the son of senior United States Senator Robert Menendez Sr., obviously endorsing his son Robert Menendez Jr. to run in that House seat. Seems like Albio wants to get back into mayoral politics. That's going to be a big story on the West New York side, but also within the district itself, legislatively. Angelica Jimenez has been one of those women legislators that has been really been fighting for a working class constituency in Hudson County. I'm sad to see her go. What are some of your fond memories of the Assemblywoman?
As far as our interactions have been very minimal. I did meet her one time during a victory party at Sacco's. So I know we shared a glass toast. So that's as much as I could give you.
Okay. Now, it sort of begs the question, though, James, that obviously a lot of these musical chairs, a lot of sort of dealings going on, this person moving up into this position, maybe this person stepping down. We know that in 2023, if I'm not mistaken, that also is going to be a North Bergen municipal election as well for mayor. I've heard your name being thrown out there. A lot of people are saying, hey, someone like James, who has been openly critical of Mayor Sacco, this might be the right time for James to jump into this because, hey, he's had X amount of terms. He's stepping away from his state Senate seat. He's looking to just sort of focus full time on being the mayor. But even then, there were whispers about, will Nick Sacco run again? Will he have opposition? I keep hearing your name consistently as possible opposition for Nick Sacco. Is this something you want to share with us on the show today?
I don't have any plans on running, but I do know that he will be contested by at least Larry Weinstein. So I'm just excited to be able to cover both elections, West New York and North Bergen, at the same time. This is the first time in election season that HudPost is covering more than just one city. So I think I'll have my hands full, and I'll let Sacco have his last term before I give him a heart attack like that.
Okay. So I'll take that as an emphatic no. You will not be running next year for mayor. Fair?
No, probably not. I don't think my fiance would give me the green light for that either. I think we have.
Listen. I think we've all learned the little adage, right? Happy wife, happy life, as they say, yes. Right?
But I will tell you that that it's something that I've always looked at doing and had aspirations in doing. But as I started to grow HudPost, I see that influence doesn't always have to be while you're in office. Doesn't have to, you don't always have to be running for office to make changes. So anyone out there who feels like, hey, I want to be involved, and politics might not be your thing, there's a million different ways to get involved and be part of the solution of making things better around here. So that's the one thing that keeps me from saying yes, I want to announce something today.
All right, fair enough. Now, James, you started HudPost again as a very small operation. It has grown exponentially into one of the more revered and well-known news sites in Hudson County, also statewide too, right? We're seeing atrocious drivers in nearby Bergen County now showing up on HudPost, Instagram stories and everything else. When we talk about media, we talked about on your show when I was on it earlier this year, it's amazing whether it's social media, technology, again, YouTube, websites like StreamYard like this or Zoom have really made it easy for journalists like yourself and even me as well to just do this from the comfort of our own home, where, you are able now to delegate a pretty good staff, and even then thousands of different journalists on the road who are sending you content, who are sending you videos about things that are transpiring. Looking back, and I'm not sure exactly how old HudPost is, but looking back to when you started to where you are today, on a scale of 1 to 10, I mean, whether it's mystified or just overwhelmed, how are you feeling now after X amount of years of cutting your teeth in the business, rolling up your sleeves, putting in the time and labor, which I know something about as well? How do you feel about it X amount of years later since you started?
Sometimes it feels fake. People come up to me and they, hey, I know who you are. Aren't you the guy from HudPost? And, it's super exciting to hear that. Now, when I think back of, what I envisioned HudPost to be and how it came to be, and I just feel like you really can bring things to fruition. I really believed in the fact that if I shared stories that were relevant to people's lives, that they would be more inclined to give me stories. And did I understand how it would be? Did I understand that, Instagram videos would be coming in every 3 seconds? I didn't understand it would be on that magnitude. So, when I think back or I look at my Instagram or I look at the DMs of all the content I get on a daily basis, sometimes it feels overwhelming, but I'm super blessed to be able to do this and now have to redream about what I want to do with this platform, because I think it's far, far surpassed what I wanted it to be.
And speaking about, it absolutely has surpassed everything you've even imagined. Same thing with me. I never thought my podcast on Blog Talk Radio would amount to what it's been now, 5 years and counting. You know what I'm saying? And it's not about the awards. I mean, that's nice, but it's more about the reach and having local officials, respect you. And this is one of the things that I really always, love to laugh at, when people say, well, I don't want to take his podcast seriously or this and that. Again, folks, this is work. Starting a podcast, trying to get the trust and developing a rapport with local officials, with journalists. Because I just don't talk to elected officials, James. I'll talk to Steve Lennox from Tappan, New Jersey City. I'll talk to John Hines with Hudson County View. I'm talking to you. I mean, obviously, it's a work in progress. It's still the time and labor. And, to me, it's always interesting when I hear critique about my podcast, for example. Well, listen, anything worth doing is worth doing for money. And listen, you know me, I'm an unapologetic conservative. Okay, but yet still locally, municipalities make it a point to pay for advertising on my show. I can't be that bad. I can't be that, I'm polarizing. I can be bombastic, but I must not be that bad of a human if local municipalities are looking to spend money on advertising when they don't have to for someone like me. So I always take exception with people taking jabs at my podcast. I'm like, if you think it's so easy, go do it. Just like what you do. If you think it's so easy, start up a podcast, start up a news site. Okay, go to GoDaddy or wherever on the server, pay the domain fee, be consistent, put in the work. I always get a little sensitive when people start taking jabs at our products and our brands where, hey, you're not going to do it. So yeah, it's easy to do it from behind a keyboard or on your phone. But what we do, James, is laborious. It's fulfilling, but it's laborious.
Yeah, agreed. Sometimes I get comments where, like, is this news or you got this wrong? And I tell people, go to the news site that gives you that information. It's that simple. I've begging people come to the platform. I'm providing a free service. You don't have to pay a subscription fee. There's no paywall. There's no premium. You can't go to HudPost and upgrade. The content there is free, and it's going to remain
Not
free.
Yet. Not yet.
So,
Not yet. Or no?
I don't believe so. I don't believe that a paywall would be the right thing for HudPost. Just because my whole philosophy has been like, go to where people are, like bring the information to them, and don't make it a journey. Don't make it so hard to get the information. So that's why you'll see a lot of times my Facebook has the whole article written.
Okay.
Oh. Are you there?
Okay. So for now, HudPost will stay ad-free and, free. And who knows? Maybe that's the aspiration eventually. It gets so overwhelming and the traffic is like a tsunami that at some point, maybe we're talking about premium HudPost. Stay tuned for that one, folks. James, before I let you go.
HudPost.com/shop. That'll be the only thing that you have to pay for. You can buy shirts, stickers, hats, all type of HudPost merch. And pretty soon we'll be coming out with new designs for T-shirts. So be on the lookout for that.
I've been meaning to buy a shirt. I got to get one, and also maybe a magnet. Get one of those magnets for the fridges. People love that stuff. James, before I let you go, let's sort of switch gears from politics real quick. I know that you are a dedicated member, like I am, of Cowboys Nation, and certainly upcoming season is about 4 weeks away. I'm excited. It's tough being a Cowboys fan. I mean, we love to live in our past glory. We still remain relevant, right? Forbes magazine for the 9th consecutive year ranks the Dallas Cowboys as the most financially lucrative franchise on the planet. Not North America, whatever the Western Hemisphere, on the planet. Over $7 billion.
It might have something to do with the pillow, the helmet, the cup. I think you're keeping them afloat.
Listen, I have enough merch, and it's funny because I get people that family and friends like, you wear the same 3 Cowboys t-shirts all summer. Meanwhile, you have a closet full of them. But James, being a Cowboys fan is tough. Obviously there's certain accolades we can live on. Yeah, the most valuable franchise according to Forbes magazine. The best ratings when the Cowboys are on TV. It's the highest rated games every single year. Even when we're bad, people still want to tune in. It's almost like this love-hate relationship. It's like the Yankees, Notre Dame, the Lakers, and the Cowboys all sort of fit into the same prism. You either love us or you hate it. There's no middle ground. It's not like, oh, I don't know how I feel about the Cowboys. No, you'll never meet anyone like that. Either you love them or you hate them. Upcoming season, obviously, it's a bad division. I'm looking forward to the game coming up next month because for once the Cowboys play the Giants at MetLife in September when it's reasonable weather, not in December when we're freezing our asses.
And it's always raining for some reason.
It's either raining or it's like single digits, but it's good to go on a Monday night. I'm excited because it's Yom Kippur. So a lot of Jewish fans that obviously it's a sacred day are going to want to sell their tickets. And that makes it even more available for us because it's a home game for Cowboys fans. I mean, if you've gone to the game or if you've seen my Instagram stories, it's a home game for Cowboys Nation when they play the Giants. It's a bad division. Nobody ever repeats. It seems like the Eagles had a really go off season. I still remain optimistic, but your thoughts about the upcoming season for our Cowboys?
See, I've given up on Super Bowl aspirations for the Cowboys. As long as we're better than the Giants every year, I think that's the only thing I could wish for. Because, you go into the office around here, especially all the Giants fans, and if the Cowboys lose to the Giants, even if the Giants are 2-11 for the season, you won't hear the end of it. So
That's their
As
Super
long
Bowl.
as
That's their Super Bowl. That's their Super
it's
Bowl. Like, yeah, like they'll blow a load on themselves if they go, 2-15. But if those 2 wins are against the Cowboys, forget about it. It's like it's like the equivalence of like bar mitzvah, christening, baptism. It's funny when it comes to like the hatred that people have for the Cowboys. And I would argue I'm more concerned with making sure we beat the Eagles. I hate the Eagles. I hate that city. It's a dump down there in Philadelphia. But we'll see. It's again, it all depends on health. We have a horrible coach. We have incompetent ownership. Sometimes teams kind of overcompensate for that. We'll see with the Cowboys coming up this season as we are about 4 weeks away from the 2022 campaign. James, before I let you go, again, my apologies to your lovely wife. She's be like, "You're still on TV? What the hell?" So my apologies to your lovely wife, your fiance coming up, your soon-to-be wife. But James, I want to thank you for your time tonight. You're a gentleman. I think we really got to the heart of, I think, what everyday people are talking about, not just in Jersey City with the incident involving Amy DeGees, but I think what's going on in Hudson County politics in general. I think, you always do a great job of breaking it down, not just on the site, but when you're on any, media apparatus, whether it's on my shows or talking about it on your own podcast. Again, I want to thank you for your time. You've had a long day. You're always a gentleman. Make sure you share the episode after we go off the air. I appreciate
Definitely.
that. And I'll give you the last word here, bro.
Sure. Thank you for having me on the show. I really enjoy this video platform. I know the Talk in the Hudson I love, but there was a little delay. That was hard to go back and forth. This is perfect. So I'm looking forward to the next time I'm on here, and appreciate the love.
Well, I definitely want to have you on later on in the fall. Obviously, as we approach midterm elections, obviously here in Hudson County, there isn't really a competitive House seat, right? I mean, it's Hudson County is as blue as Windex. It's as blue as the Giants uniform, sadly, and that's the one blue I can think of, right? Nearby in Bergen County, it seems like that race is pretty much going to stay with the incumbent, probably west of Bergen. That race probably, but west of that and into Northwest Jersey, Central and South Jersey, I'm hoping there'll be a red wave. I'm hoping for a Republican House in January. I want to see Nancy Pelosi out of the speakership. I hope she stays in Taiwan. Let her rot there for all I care. But it seems like, here in Hudson County, it's not a competitive House seat. Previous guest, Robert Menendez Jr., is sure to win that seat overwhelmingly. Again, to your point about sort of the way it works with it. Well, actually, that's right. I want to make sure I got your thoughts on this. I know you're not a fan of the line that seems to be sort of pervasive in not just Republican circles, but Democratic circles in almost all 21 counties in New Jersey. I know there's a lawsuit that right now is in the pipeline judicially. We'll see where it goes about maybe abolishing the line. I know you've been against the line. You feel it does a disservice to candidates that want to run, but maybe don't have the support of the county apparatus. Ultimately, I know you read up on this. Do you think that court case might be successful and we might see the abolition of the line in New Jersey politics?
I could only hope. I think that it does a disservice to the people who are on the bottom of the line and really only depending on the top of the line to get them through the election. I think that if you eliminate the line, each person running for office is going to have to share their opinions on and their thoughts on what they're going to do with the office. And I think right now the line kind of hides that necessary job to do, is to go to the voters and tell them what your plan is. But if you could hide behind the senator or whoever, or the assemblyman, whoever's on the top of the ticket, then as a commissioner or a committee person, there's no real reason to go out and knock on doors if the top of the line is going to get 3 times as many votes.
Fair enough. I know, again, real quick, now that you just said that, it just sort of spearwinded a whole bunch of questions. There was one last question here.
Sure.
I know you identify as a progressive. I know you may not be like the most rah-rah, pom-poms Democrat, but you identify as a progressive. James, it seems like coming up in November, midterm elections never go well for the incumbent in the White House. It's happened, pretty consistently. The only times I can remember, again, were in 2002, where President George W. Bush, Republicans had the House, kept it, and added seats. 1934, President Franklin Roosevelt, Democrats held the House and added seats. It seems like every midterm cycle, the opposing party wins the House. I hope it does. I hope they win the Senate. We're having just a disaster of an administration in Washington. Gas prices are still high. Grocery shelves are still looking empty. Inflation. I don't want to hear anything about Inflation Reduction Act. If you read the bill itself, it's not reducing anything. But the point is that it seems like, Democrats, especially progressives, want to die on that hill on pronouns and, bathrooms and all this woke nonsense that, quite frankly, I could give two drops of piss about. That's not really affecting everyday people, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent. People are struggling to feed their families. People are struggling to drive to work. People are struggling to drive down the shore to visit family now that COVID essentially is over. Are Democrats moving too far left? And is that something that, is going to cost them the House and maybe the Senate in November?
I think if we're not focused on the issues that actually, matter to people, like what you just said, I think there's two types of progressives out there. I think, and to be honest, it's white progressives, which I think you just alluded to, which is like the people fighting over pronouns and the really things that really don't matter. And then there's progressives like what I consider myself, where I'm from, a minority community, a Latino community. Like, there are issues that really matter to us, and it doesn't have anything to do with calling us Latinx. There's actual issues that progressives could fight for that could really help out people that need it. And it's not the people on the waterfront in Jersey City or downtown Hoboken. There's people out there like where it's Frank Gilmore's district. Like those are the issues that matter to me. So I think as long as the community can understand there's some communities that do care about those things, like a downtown Jersey City, but that's not going to work over here in Union City or North Bergen or Guttenberg. So I think, it's really up in the air right now. And I think the Roe versus Wade Supreme Court ruling is really going to make the election kind of worthy to watch, because we're not going to know. I think so. I think in Kansas they showed that, in a red state, that their people do care about abortions rights. It's not straight down the middle as people like to think, Republican, Democrat. Mm-hmm. Because when it comes down to what Roe versus Wade means, it means putting women's health in danger, people having to hold on to, or women having to hold on to babies that they're going to hurt them, to kill them, or little children that were raped and have to hold on to this baby. There's so many incidences that Roe versus Wade was protecting, and now that it's actually happening, I think there's going to be a big backlash on that.
I hate to piggyback on that because you just brought it up, but now I got to say this out loud. Sure, James. But this is the thing that drives me crazy about when it's ironic, because I actually interviewed the president of the National Organization for Women on a Monday night. Nice lady. We had a playful banter, went back and forth. And I remember it was funny because when we talked about reproductive rights in New Jersey, which I'll get to in a minute because I think people are having meltdowns for no reason in New Jersey. And I said, oh, stop it. Don't worry about it. Roe's never going to be overturned. It's been around for 50 years. Don't worry about it. I kid you not. That very night at about 9 o'clock is when it leaked that a brief was apparently leaked from one of the justices' chambers, whatever. 2 minutes later, she called me, was like, you mother effer. You are so you said that on purpose. I said, first of all, I had no firsthand knowledge about that was going to happen. Uh-huh. But James, this is my thing. And this is where I think people need a civics lesson. And this is where the history professor is going to have summer school class for a minute. Again, what Roe basically did, just like it did back in 50 years ago, abortion nationally is not outlawed. It's still legal. What it did is relegated it back to the states. And again, as I've talked about it, it seems like people forget about the 10th Amendment. It's like, Jesus Christ, I have the Constitution behind me. I want to mail copies to people. Again, rights not relegated to the federal government by the Constitution are relegated to the states. Essentially, federalism, states' rights. That's what it's based on. Now, again, for me, here in New Jersey, reproductive rights, just like across the river in New York, it's relatively safe. I've said this. I don't care how it gets me in trouble, because I've said it for weeks now. It's like these insufferable feminists and these like cat ladies that stink of cat piss are having meltdowns for weeks now about reproductive rights. Here in New Jersey, folks, okay, here's a newsflash for you. If you're a woman and want a woman, biological woman, okay, let's not birthing people, women who get pregnant and want to reconsider their pregnancy and terminate it, Planned Parenthood gets subsidies in the millions from Trenton and Washington. So clinics are all available for you. Okay, here's the line that will really, really be a little spicy for you, James. So it's single girl summer. So after 3 or 4 nights of irresponsible behavior and drinking excessively down the shore, and if a woman wants to reconsider her life on Monday morning, guess what? Plan Bs are readily available. Okay? Now, what's going on south of New Jersey, James, in Texas and Florida and Alabama? I hate to break it to people. People in Alabama and New Jersey Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, don't care anymore about what we do here in New Jersey, how we spend it responsibly, how we have the highest property taxes in the nation, how we coddle illegals. They don't care about that any more than we should care about them. I get it. But, James, at the end of the day, it's like there are women in New Jersey, and men too, that are having meltdowns about terminating pregnancies in states that they don't live in. Like, folks, get a grip. I get it. You may not like it, but you don't live in those states. Let them worry about the way that they want to govern. And if people in those states want to vote people out of the legislature and change laws, James, again, it's the 10th Amendment. I don't understand what is so difficult. Not you. I mean, this generically, you out there. What's so difficult for you people out there to understand?
Well, I think, that it's Roe versus Wade, I think, is a lot about privacy as well, the privacy between you and your doctor.
Okay,
and that could be, there's going to be a ripple effect of what this entails. And I think caring about people like in Alabama, Texas, like women that don't have the same rights as you, I think it's all right to feel that way. It's just like, I think anywhere that that liberty is being, it's being at risk is at risk for yourself as well, no matter if it's happening south of you, north of you, to someone of a different race, a different age. Eventually it'll come back to you. And I think that's what it's really about. It's about the privacy between you and your doctor. I think that issue right there is a woman and her doctor. I don't think there's anyone that should be coming in the middle of that. And I think it's all right for people to say, hey, you know what? I think the federal government should regulate that and make sure that everyone has access to that. I know stories of people who have to drive hours and hours out of state just to have a medical procedure, which they should be able to have at their home. So that's my opinion on it.
James, fair points. I think you said it concisely and you said it well. Folks, he is the publisher of HudPost. Again, check it out at HudPost.com. Follow HudPost on Twitter and Instagram at HudPost. You can't miss it, ladies and gentlemen. When you hear HudPost, you know something's cooking in Hudson County, and it's courtesy of our guest tonight, the great James Santos, the publisher of HudPost, here on Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. James, God bless you, brother. I'll talk to you soon, and let's go Cowboys.
Thank you. Let's go Cowboys.
Have a good night, brother.
You too. Bye-bye.
Folks, again, great episode there with James Santos. Again, we appreciate it. We're a little after 7 here on the East Coast. Make sure you check out HudPost.com, and certainly sharing is caring, folks. If you're just tuning in live right now, share it on your newsfeed, share it on your social media, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and everything else. And certainly, again, the traffic continues to generate itself here on the show. Folks, again, we're coming to that part of the program where it's this week's winner of the worst journalist in the state of New Jersey. And of course, what a surprise. You guessed it once again. It's Insider NJ, the kings of bad journalism here in the Garden State. And folks, I got to tell you, a couple columns here. Oh boy, I got to tell you, when I think of bad journalists in New Jersey, or the local virtue signalers, or the insufferable woke crowd in New Jersey, right, especially in the New Jersey media apparatus, I can think of number one, I can think of Bobby's World. Bobby Henley, Bobby's World. This insufferable clown writing columns for Insider NJ, folks. And you got to read the latest one here. It's really, really funny. Talk about Kansas like it's 1964. But folks, what's really just, and again, I'm not going to bore you with quotes from this. I mean, unless you're interested in going to sleep early tonight, you can read the column on your own and you can sort of decide for yourself, whether it's worthwhile, whatever nonsense and propaganda Bobby Henley is peddling. But what's interesting about propaganda and how good Bobby Henley is at peddling. Well, by the way, he blocked me on social media a while ago because, Bobby Henley doesn't like to be held accountable for the BS that he peddles every single week. But what's really interesting, though, when you go on muckrack.com and you look at Bobby Henley, you look at his contributions to a website called democracyatwork.info. And folks, just to let you know about democracy at work. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could get a copy of the Soviet flag and put it on Bobby Henley, I think it would apply perfectly. When you read this garbage site, again, it's about we can do better than capitalism. That's the mission and vision of Democracy at Work. Check out this garbage this is right from their mission statement on their page. Democracy at Work is a nonprofit 501c3 that produces anti-capitalist progressive media. Our work analyzes our capitalist economy critically as a systemic problem and advocates for democratizing workplaces as a part of systemic solutions. We seek a stronger, fuller democracy in our politics, culture, and workplaces based on equal collaboration and shared leadership by workers inside enterprises and throughout society. We can do better than capitalism. This is what Bobby Henley chooses to advertise on and to have his columns published at and books that he wants to write and advertise with. Bobby, I think you're a despicable piece of trash. I said it. You are a despicable piece of trash. To want to willingly put your content on a website that produces anti-capitalist progressive media. Folks, that's code for either you're a socialist or you're a communist. And Bobby, let me tell you something. As the son of a Cuban mother, an aunt, and grandparents who had to leave their homeland of Cuba with nothing but a suitcase because communism took over their island, and the audacity for you to go on a website like this and to glorify it, let me tell you something. You're scum. You're absolute scum. Okay? And I got no problem saying that to you. So if I run into you at the League of Municipalities, you can be rest assured I got no problem going up to your sorry ass and saying, Bob, I think you're garbage. For you to glorify communism and socialism, which is what this website does, I think makes you a despicable person. Okay? Is capitalism perfect? Of course not. Are there things that could be improved upon? Absolutely. But I don't see Bobby Henley jumping on a raft. I mean, I don't know if he could fit on a raft. Swimming down south to go to Venezuela. Or jumping on a raft to go to Cuba. Okay? Or swimming to, I don't know, Bolivia. Okay? Another communist left-wing country. Okay? I don't see Bobby Henley doing that. But you have the audacity to do this from your home, publishing on a site that you know is basically communist and socialist, and you're proud of that, Bob, you should be ashamed of yourself. I think you're a garbage human being. I'll say it again. Bob Henley is a garbage human being. For you to glorify communism and socialism, you should be ashamed of yourself. You're a man in his mid to late 80s, and you should know better because you've had the luxury of living in this country, a country that my parents came here not knowing English, with barely a high school education, and made something of themselves. Only here in the United States can you do that. Not in Cuba, not in Venezuela, not in Bolivia, okay? None of the other parts of the world that are socialist and communist. Only here in the United States. And for you, Bobby Henley, to go on a website like Democracy at Work and to glorify it and to publish stuff on there and to be proud of it, I think you're disgusting. You're disgusting, you're reprehensible, and you're abhorrent. You're a horrible human being, Bobby Henley. You should know better. I get it. You're 80, almost 90 years old. I get it. Cognitively, you know, maybe dementia's starting to settle in, just like it is with the president of the United States, a guy that you apparently love as well. But it's awful that you glorify this. But you know who else I want to fault at this? Because, folks, again, propagandists, this is not new. But the problem is that propagandists have to be enabled by publishers, by editors. Oh, that's right. Another garbage human in Max Pizarro, who enables this by publishing columns from Bob Henley, knowing fully well what Bob Henley does on a weekly basis on his columns, knowing fully well that all it takes is a simple Google search about Bob Henley to know that he advocates for anti-capitalist propaganda. And of course, you know, Max is too busy riding a horse, or a horse is riding Max, you know, to know better. Max, you should be ashamed of yourself because you're glorifying this. By constantly putting published columns by Bob Henley on Insider NJ, what you're saying to people is, hey, it's okay. It's okay to glorify communists and socialists on Insider NJ. You should be ashamed of it. See, Max, I've always known you're a garbage human being. That's not news. Okay? But the fact that now we're learning about this now, and that I'm the only journalist in New Jersey exposing Bobby Henley for the communist fraud that he is. because I bet you anything that Bobby Hennelly won't leave his comfortable ass wherever he lives in New Jersey to go to Cuba, to go to Venezuela, because nobody leaves this country to go there, Bobby. Okay, and you, Max, you should know better. You're a guy in his mid to late 70s. Okay, you shouldn't even be riding a horse because that's potentially dangerous for someone of your fragile stature. Because you're in your mid to late 70s. You should be careful, man. You shouldn't be riding horses. That's bad for your health. But what's even worse, folks, is that Max doesn't care. Max is home, scratching his ass, posing in front of punching bags, as if that's supposed to impress somebody. Overcompensating for something, Max? I don't know about that. But you are just as bad as Bob, if not worse, because you're knowingly glorifying a communist and a socialist. You should know better, Max. But then again, that will require Max Pizarro to practice something that's called, again, that forcible word, wait for it, integrity. But again, garbage humans collaborate with garbage humans. And that's just something that Insider NJ has become notorious for. Oh, that's right. Speaking of garbage humans, oh my goodness. Yes, folks, little JJ, the resident little bitch in New Jersey media, Jay Lassiter. And I got to tell you, reading some of his recent columns, unbelievable. This is great. Here's one that really, really made me laugh. Whistling past monkeypox. Check out this piece of work right here. My God, talk about virtue signaling. Jesus Christ. I'm not going to subject you folks at home to reading this. You can read on your, again, if you need to induce sleep because you're suffering from insomnia, look up Jay Lassiter's columns because they'll put you to sleep. Again, talking about monkeypox, where, I'll be careful here. I'm not going to give Jay the satisfaction of trying to have me canceled, but, it's not people like me that got to worry about monkeypox, folks. I'll leave it at that. Okay. So if you want to virtue signal and bitch and moan about, monkeypox and how it's misrepresented and the bad stereotypes or whatever, read this garbage column, again, talking about monkeypox and raising hysteria about it. I don't know about you, Jay, but someone like me, yeah, I don't got to worry about monkeypox. You can take that however you want, and you can interpret it however you want. Someone like Fernando Uribe, yeah, I don't got to worry about monkeypox. Maybe you do. I don't know. That's up to you. Now, again, another garbage column by Jay Lassiter. This is a funny one. Jay smoking weed hourly like he does down in Cherry Hill, another uppity town, opining about Hudson County politics. This is really, really good here, right? As if Jay hasn't done it before, right? Ridiculing County Executive Tom DeGees for not caving soon enough to ICE contracts, right? Jay, as if you know anything about Hudson County. You couldn't find Kearney, the city of Kearney, or the Hudson County Correctional Facility on a map, even if Apple helped you, okay? You're too busy smoking weed to know otherwise. But here's a really good one. Here's Jay wanting to virtue signal about Amy DeGees, right? I'm not going to give you the logistics of it, but Jay tries to sort of paint the picture about machine politics as if machine politics aren't evident in every county. Now, that's not what's going on in Hudson County. Now, again, let me preface this by saying that Amy DeGees is a friend of mine, okay? She's someone that I have chosen not to pile on. Now, if clowns like David Cruz, again, who walks around with a Greenville shirt, why you would walk around with a shirt saying Greenville on it when we all know it's a dump, it's a blank hole, right, of Jersey City, all right? And why you would glorify that is beyond me. You going after someone like James de los Santos is despicable, but you're a despicable person, Dave. That's something new with you. But something with Jay, which really is even more egregious, is the idea that Jay seems to think he's qualified to opine about Hudson County politics. Okay? And as I said before, I'm not going to pile on Amy DeGees. When this story broke, I felt bad for her. She's a friend of mine. Okay? And I don't know about you folks, but I don't pile on friends during their darkest moments when they're going through bad things. And that's what Amy's going through. Again, let the laws of the land prevail. She's going to have her day in court, and we'll see what happens. I've said that consistently from the beginning. But someone like Jay Lassiter thinks that he's qualified to give some sort of synopsis or narrative about, Hudson County politics. And really? Well, again, Jay, what's really, really funny is, you're piling on someone who, quite frankly, I'm sure has been piled on enough. And people have taken me to task, right? Oh, Fernando, you're letting your friendship cloud your judgment. No, I'm a human being. I'm not going to pile on Amy DeGees during moments when she's getting crucified online almost daily. That's not me. Okay? Jay, just like you, where I'm sure you have plenty of friends in New Jersey, some that we share mutually, right? That don't want to pile on you when you're acting like your usual little bitch self, right? When you're virtue signaling, when you're bitching and moaning about your sob story, about what you're going through or why you smoke weed or what treatments you take and all that. I could care less. I've said it consistently. Take your meds, smoke your weed, and shut up. I'm tired of your sob story. I could give 2 drops of piss about your sob story, okay? You're a guy in his 70s who just turned 70. I'm sorry, because I remember you published an article mentioning that you turned 50. Stop lying. We all know you're 70. You look 70, okay? But what's really funny is I think Jay, again, lacks self-awareness, right? By wanting to pile on Amy DeGees. Jay, you know, I'm sure plenty of people want to pile on you with all of your antics and your stupidity. And guess what? They choose not to. They'll continue being your friend. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just like I'm continuing to be friends with Amy DeGees. Okay? You want to criticize me for that? Go ahead. I don't care. I've had fake Twitter profiles created. I've had to report them. That must mean I'm doing something right, or I guess I'm popular. Whatever. The point is that, Jay, you're not qualified to talk about Hudson County politics. Stay in your lane. Stay down Cherry Hill. Okay? Keep smoking weed because that's all you're good for. All right? And write about other things. Write about monkeypox. Okay? Something maybe, I guess, you know, either you're familiar with or you know people that are familiar with. Write about that. Virtue signal about the misrepresentation of monkeypox. Whatever. You know I don't have to worry about it, and I'll leave that alone. Okay? Yeah, and I say that with the most arrogant of smirks on my face because there's nothing you can do about it. So, but this is the thing, though, Jay. Again, stay in your lane and opine about things that actually pertain to you or that you're knowledgeable about. Yeah, you just want to pile on because it's fashionable. Yeah, let's just pile on Amy DeGees. Hey, you're no better than anybody else online that's looking to virtue signal and, I don't know, do it for clicks, for views, for traffic, whatever. You should be ashamed of yourself. But then again, that requires you having shame, Jay. And we all know you don't have any. Again, as I've said before, Jay, take your meds, go smoke your weed, and shut up. Nobody wants to hear from you. Okay? Your virtue signaling is just at the realm of insufferable. And by the way, we all know how insufferable Jay is. We all know how much of a garbage human he is. But yet he still has people that consider him a friend and won't pile on him. Jay, learn that lesson. Because there are plenty of people, I'm sure, that want to pile on you and refrain from doing so, either out of compassion or bias. Well, guess what? Maybe you shouldn't be piling on certain people. Stop being so self-righteous and sanctimonious when you're one of the most flawed people around. Don't take it from me. Take it from Jay's own writing when he's talked about all of the plethora of flaws that he has. Jay, for someone as flawed as you need to kind of stay in your lane, bro. Okay, check yourself and stop piling on people when you're one of the most flawed people in New Jersey media. Oh, did I say something I'm not supposed to? Ooh, well, come do something about it, Jay. I'm begging you. And you know what? Here's a little spoiler. That little bitch, he won't do anything. Trust me, folks. I haven't seen it, and I never will. And that's our show for this week again, folks. Congratulations once again to Insider NJ. And of course, it's insufferable and virtue signaling general manager, Pete O'Neilly, who loves to, again, post propaganda, enable propagandists like Max Pizarro and communists like Bobby Hennelly and virtue signalers like little JJ Lassiter. So again, as long as Insider NJ is collecting advertising dollars for their powerless and publishing columns or videos of awful attempted journalists or people with attempted shows, well, again, as long as you're getting some traffic, not New Jersey Globe traffic like David Wildstein, but as long as you're making money, Pete, right there in your home in Hawthorne, what do you care? Doesn't matter if Insider NJ just continues to be more biased and they're wearing their bias on their sleeve. What do you care? You're making a nice income. You know, you seem to be more concerned with wanting to turn Hawthorne into the next Greenwich Village. Like as if 1 month of Pride Month isn't enough for you. It seems like you want to turn Hawthorne into like downtown Greenwich Village. You should know better, Pete. But then again, requires you having integrity. That 4-syllable word, which seems to be pretty absent at Insider NJ, which once again, as we all know, Insider NJ is the king of bad journalism. Folks, if you can get your news elsewhere, do so. New Jersey Monitor, New Jersey Globe. Don't bother with Insider NJ. Again, I just gave you a conclusive case of the Lollipop Guild and the trash journalism you get every single week. Do better, folks. And those people at Insider NJ, to Mike and Ryan Graham, have a sit down with these idiots and sit them down and be like, yeah, we should be doing better than peddling propaganda. But again, as long as you're making money, what do you care, right? That seems to be the modus operandi at Insider NJ. And that's our show for this week. Once again, folks, I want to thank HudPost Publisher James Santos for a very insightful show. Talked for almost a little over an hour on a plethora of different topics. You can check out the show as we go off the air on Facebook Live via StreamYard, and also on the Jersey First YouTube page. Make sure you like Jersey First on Facebook. Follow them on Instagram and Twitter at Jersey First. And of course, make sure you like Real Talk with Fernando Uribe on Facebook as well. Make sure you follow me on Facebook. I'm that handsome guy with the Joe Biden sucks t-shirt. Again, you can't miss me, folks. Again, the handsome guy there publishing videos and taking great, very photogenic posts there, as you see that every single week. Make sure always, again, check out the Jersey First website, www.jerseyfirst.org. Once again, that's www.jerseyfirst, that's Jersey, the number 1st.org. And of course, check out all the other great shows on Jersey First, such as The Nader Narrative, with the Nader, and much, much more. Always remember, ladies and gentlemen, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, you can always rely on Real Talk right here with Jersey First TV. I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit online magazine, and of course, the sworn enemy of all the toxic progressives, social justice clowns, woke fools, and climate hysterics all throughout the Garden State. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe, saying so long, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great rest of your week. Sharing is caring. Make sure you share tonight's episode. I'll see you next week. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, top guy out.